Hey everybody, hi there. Thanks for coming along. How are you? Hi there. My name's Chris, and you're seeing me live on YouTube, or you're seeing me after the fact on YouTube, or you're hearing me on a podcast. But regardless, I'm so happy that you're along for the ride. We're here to talk about the conference championship games. It's going to be a really fun show. I'm here with producer Dave Pyper, who's behind the scenes, and Jim McCormick, the great one, in Philly, freezing his little butt off, but very happy for what's about to happen this weekend. Hi, Jim.
Yeah, just sitting around with a magical bear and enjoying this frigid weather. I mean, I like to just leave cold cuts out, and I don't have to worry about them getting sick. Garrett's not going to get sick. Like, it's a refrigerator, and we like football.
So we're brought to you by DraftKings, and I'm very appreciative for that. I'll tell you a little bit more about what they have going on in just a little bit. I am so psyched that there are folks who are joining us here live. I'm going to say hello quickly to the early adopters who are here. I got Ian, I got Nico, I got Victor, I got Lord, Joseph, I got George, I got Greg, Daniel. Thank you so much for being here. Jim, I don't exactly understand why, but today, which is Wednesday, January 22nd, we're talking in the evening. I'm on Blue Sky now, the social, and I'm on Twitter also, but I'm on Blue Sky, and I don't have quite the following on Blue Sky, obviously, because it's pretty new, but the engagement is very, very good. You get more likes on something you post on Blue Sky than you do on Twitter, because people can't see things on Twitter because, Twitter has problems. Today, I had over 1,000 new followers, and I only had like 6,000 followers going into the day. And truly, I don't know what happened. I keep checking Google to see if I was involved in a scandal that I'm not sure about.
I mean, it's Garrett. So, Garrett, he's been on Blue Sky since before Blue Sky. He used to call it Garrett Sky.
Well, I'm not on Gare Sky, so maybe you need to hook me up with a link. Is it private?
It's Gare.sky, but it got taken down. Don't try that link. Anyway.
Don't go to Gare.sky. Yeah. So anyway, if you're a new Blue Sky follower of mine, welcome. I have found myself posting a little more on Blue Sky. Again, nothing really against Twitter, and I have a lot more followers on Twitter. It's just when the timeline of people you follow is chronological and you can just see what they posted in chronological order, I feel like I get a lot more out of that.
I mean, on Monday, I posted to Twitter. I was like 15 feet away from Kevin Durant, and I posted a picture of him, and I think I got like 37 views. And it was just like, it's something was wrong. I mean, it was Kevin Durant on a Monday. I thought there would be somebody that was interested.
I don't know, man. That's crazy. How was KD, by the way?
He was the only guy who kind of wasn't asleep on the Phoenix Suns. It was definitely a sleepy Monday in Cleveland where the Suns had no chance. So, yeah.
All right. Well, we are here to look back a little bit and then look ahead to these two games. I know I'm going to talk about it on the fantasy podcast tomorrow, but I'm going to start with it here too. He's the quarterback that your team will be facing coming up here in a few days, but the biggest story is the Lions losing. And, I went 3-0-1 against the spread last week. The one game that we both thought was the best bet is the one I pushed, for sure. Yep. But the story is not that I was so smart thinking that Jaden Daniels was going to beat the Lions, because I did not think that at all. I believe the words crossed my lips saying, well, they're not going to win, but I'll take them. I'll take the points. My God, not only did they win, but they may have ended a regime in Detroit.
Yeah. Not great. I saw this happen with the Eagles. They did it in the Super Bowl stage. So at least it was more rewarding, but you lose both coordinators and then you're at this impasse, and it's difficult. I generally don't feel many emotions for other NFL fans, but I do feel for Detroit fans. I do, because this team did feel fun, but I don't think it's over for them per se. But it was a great spot to be in, and wow, Jaden Daniels. I mean, yeah.
I mean, he's the reason. Just to spend a moment on the Lions, about whom we speculated, scratched our respective beards all season. On the one hand, I've been here with Jared Goff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I've been when he was going to the Super Bowl with the Rams. He played well in the first Lions go around in the playoffs. He didn't do anything wrong. The reason they lost the Niners game in the NFC Championship game last year had to do with Dan Campbell, not with Jared Goff.
Yeah.
But it was such a bad performance. And I don't know that we're allowed to go, Sam Darnold, you've really revealed who you are. The Scooby-Doo mask is off. And then be like, oh, well, just one game for Jared Goff. There's a piece of me that says, do the Lions have a little bit of, put it this way. Would you be trying to draft a quarterback not that you're going to get rid of Goff, but find another guy?
Well, they kind of did like a side path there with the Hendon Hooker pick, right? But he didn't. They played Teddy Bridgewater off of literally like a high school field, like 11 days before, and that's not a joke. That's really what happened. So it does make you wonder. Minnesota in a not so different path. They didn't get as far as this Detroit team did, but faced that same crossroads with like the Kirk Cousins world where it was just like, this is going to end a certain point. Again, this is a different team. This has real contending things, but they had to make that decision of, do we just have to start, do we have to really make a dramatic shift? They did, and they still ended up in the Sam Darnold thing somehow. But my point is, they went after the pick. So Detroit, that doesn't feel like the way they're going to go. So it feels like, I don't know. I think it's going to be like Dennis Allen and some stuff Yeah.
Of course, we would probably be singing. Maybe not. I was about to say we might be singing a different tune had not all those Lions defensive players gotten hurt. That was clearly a shadow of itself. But Jared Goff still did throw. That first interception was so Goffian.
Yeah.
It was so Darnoldian. It was so not only did you throw it over your receiver's head, but you had another receiver so wide open underneath him that you just can't have it. It can't have it in the biggest spots. And can you tell me a story that Jared Goff wins the Super Bowl if everything's perfect? Sure, but everything usually isn't perfect, as evidenced by a 15-2 team whose defense kerploded, and now suddenly there's pressure for us to possess the ball as opposed to having crazy short drives and having, Jameson Williams throw passes and stuff. Feels like they just never adjusted to the reality of where they were, and that Goff isn't that singular guy who's going to be able to overcome it in real time. Yeah,
it just felt like they were scripting a movie or something. That there was going to be some way that all that would work, and they were all such low percentage odds, all collectively, individually, and then collectively, it looks disastrous. It felt like a group of people that were going out kind of I guess with these different main point is the defense got them into that the giving up that many points, but Jared Goff broke my dome algorithm. It blew a fuse. So he really was Goffian, and it's true. It was right back to it, and it's true. It's Darnold. It was very Darnold too in terms of we just didn't give him that analysis because we think differently about that team, I suppose.
Yeah, and I posted on socials after it happened, as far as I know, this was in a dome. And I think some Lions fans were mad at me and I can understand. You're mad with anybody post something snarky about your team that just blew a season. But I really was talking about everybody whose analysis went as far as you can only trust Goff in a dome.
The dome. It's over.
Yeah, it is over. All right, so the winning team in that game, however, comes to Philadelphia, and I am obviously flabbergasted by Jaden Daniels, and he already might be a top X quarterback in the league, and that is shocking, frightening. There is something about the Commanders, though, that says they sure got a lot of help in these two playoff games. Without Baker Mayfield screwing the pooch, the fumble, the interception, really bad moments where it felt like kind of Tampa had control of that game. And without Jared Goff turning into stereotypical Jared Goff, I'm not sure that the heroics for Jaden Daniels matter. But, and maybe that comes down to I don't trust their defense. But I want to like throw a little bit of shade on the way the two games went, but then realize there have been 5 rookies in the Super Bowl era who've gotten to a conference championship, and now Jaden Daniels is one of them.
And and even just like the seeding thing, all of this like has had like these expiration points prior, right? Like all these road wins and road dogs, like they don't last this long generally. He is unique. I don't know, like the ally thing. It's not the same thing, but I just remember like a year ago, like we felt like this with Stroud.
Yeah.
It is different because it feels different, but maybe it's not. I don't know. What am I saying? He just feels really good right now, and he is really good.
Yeah.
He's a different type of player.
Yeah.
Like there's more magic to it and more singular stuff. And you weren't making like earnest like Lamar references. And not saying that he's him, but there's times that he just transports. The main point is, there's this magic, goofy stuff, and there is a level of fear. And Philadelphia like lives with fear. It's they spell fear with PH. They would misspell it anyway. But like the point is, and I don't know the phonetics on fear. It's like fear. But it's I'm done doing that. But the real point is that he is just super scary, and he was, and the scary part is I don't even think he was the exact reason they won the game. Like they won the game, yes, because he made some great plays, but Detroit was so willing to like abandon winning strategies that you're right, like it was 2 different directions, and that really helps. The intersection of Jared Goff and Baker Mayfield way, it's like a Venn diagram of mistakes. So
yeah. All right. And so now we can talk about your Eagles, and if Gary wants to get involved, that's your choice. Like he's insufferable right now, I know. So you have to decide if Gary Bear is going to be involved. I wouldn't necessarily call that the most convincing win I've seen. If I'm not mistaken, the Eagles have been outgained by both the Packers and the Rams, and how do you get outgained by the Rams in a game where you had 3 massive long touchdown runs? I'm confused about that. I'm not that concerned about the Philly defense, and I'm not concerned about Saquon Barkley. So maybe that's enough. But we keep talking about the same thing on the show, but like we're both concerned. We're both concerned about Jalen Hurts. Hurt, not hurt. We'll talk about how these Eagle Commander games went, but like concern.
Yeah, I mean, the last couple games have been like the extremes, or like the extreme examples of like not inadequate, like it's less than inadequate.
What's below 0?
So like my friend was saying, it's like feeling like you don't even have a quarterback. Like it's like somebody didn't show up to work, and you're like, but it still worked today. Like today still worked. That's what the Packers game felt like. It felt like nobody showed up to work, but you were like, nobody noticed. Like, just still pay us, whatever. Like, let's not mess up his 401k. And then this week, it felt like it was like actively negative. Other than the big run early, which was great. And it makes it all look good. The 7 for 71, and that run, it did happen. Like I understand how explosive plays work, but the limitations in the passing game, and you can say the weather, and it's true there were drops on the Rams that were atypical. So that's actually more of a forgivable thing for like what AJ Brown did, rather than Jalen Hurts just not even looking to pass. It was like Derrick Henry high school tape.
It's insane that it was close. It felt over. It felt like, okay, the Eagles are obviously better. They're not playing well. The passing game doesn't work, but they have Saquon, so everything's going to be all right. And then the Rams march down and score. The Eagles, I didn't love the play calling or the clock management. McVay plays it like a harp. They're was it a naked boot and Hurts's leg hurt?
With a bad leg, I just want to raise
just
Sirianni on a play that caused a safety, like with similar type of requests. Yeah.
Sirianni or Kellen Moore or somebody.
Yeah, somebody back there's messing up. Yeah.
Not looking great. Just give it to Barkley, for God's sake. And then giving it back, and then Puka didn't do anything all day and makes that one catch, and suddenly you can see a world where they actually lose this game.
Oh yeah.
But they don't. And Jalen Carter's a monster, and he's why they don't.
Absolutely. And the nuts and bolts of that are even incredible. Like he did the same move 2 plays in a row to finish the game. But sold him on this fake stunt. So he was basically selling the center that there was going to be a guy looping around, and both times the center was looking like, really, is he? And he was like, no. So it was really impressive. Yeah, but they're more Rams-like, ironically, meaning the way this team is winning is with these singular top talents. Give it to Barkley and let Jalen Carter not be Aaron Donald, but be this singular wrecker, and then hopefully you survive the rest. Because as good as the secondary is, Matt Stafford was filleting people. And I understand if the weather, it's true. The Eagles are 0-15 this week in hypothetical situations, but they did win the football game, and so I understand the idea if it was played in space or not in snow, but it was. But now we face a normal game is the point. It's going to be for here, spring. It's going to be 42 and pretty normal on Sunday. So I don't think that's going to be the equalizer. It's going to be the same reduction to use. Everybody's going to say it's redundant, but does Jalen Hurts have to play football on Sunday?
Yeah, and remember, the first time these teams played, that was during the 3-game stretch where Jaden Daniels' ribs were hurt and they weren't letting him run. He wasn't scrambling. He just wasn't the same. Mm-hmm. And then the second time they played, it felt like the Eagles were about to kill him, and Hurts got concussed, and Kenny Pickett came in, and did they ever score another touchdown? He looked okay for a little while.
They hit a couple of field goals. It was a 36-33 or something. There were a ton of field goals at the end, and they were settling, and it was still a game, but it felt different for sure. I mean,
so I think the very easy thing to say is, my God, you have to figure out a way to give the ball to Saquon Barkley 28 times. This is not something that the Commanders are good at. Did you watch Jahmyr Gibbs? If Dan Campbell could get some sodium pentothal in him, he'd be like, yeah, we screwed up the game. He was killing people. Yes. And we insisted on putting the husk of David Montgomery and Jared Goff at the 4. And if we'd just given it to Jahmyr Gibbs a bunch more times, we probably would have been fine. And I feel that obviously, clearly, the Eagles have to know this. I don't see a world where the Eagles don't score, even if Hurts is not good. It's just what you worry about is that if Daniels keeps up, if Daniels scores a whole bunch of points,
yes,
and it comes to a situation where, all right, well, now you got to throw. It's on Hurts' racket. That's where you're concerned.
Yeah, I mean, talked to before. I always use it as a trope, but styles make fights. But in football, it's really true, just because teams are so different. They're so differently built that you'll see different outcomes with different matchups. And this is one of the things the Eagles they haven't had to get in those games, but that's the Daniels factor, is that and this defense is so good, but he's so slippery and weird in a much different way than Stafford would do it. Stafford's doing it with these dynamic throws that are really hard to cover those parts of the field. This guy does that, and I don't know, triple flips, and so it's going to be scary, particularly because there are some. There's always been some holes on every defense, but now particularly with the Oren Burks thing, that's this. He's the rotating. They have a rotating linebacker spot where Nakobe Dean was. And if you go back to the last time, when they really controlled them, Nakobe Dean is really important. Obviously, the Rams don't have linebackers. The Commanders do. They're not a very good run defense, but I think it's a different scale of matchup than say the Rams were. The Rams are food for running backs. The Commanders are bad, but I don't think there's a 0% chance that they have a plan.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think the only way for Washington to win is to win with a lot of points, but the Eagle defense is, great. And not only that, but it felt really stupid that the Lions kept blitzing, because I don't think I want to blitz Jaden Daniels, because I don't want to blitz Lamar Jackson, because I don't want to blitz super mobile guys who can throw. But I'm not worried about that. The Eagles aren't going to blitz. So I would actually feel okay about this, except I saw Jaden Daniels put up 36, and yes, Hurts wasn't in the game, but Hurts doesn't play on defense. And
no, it doesn't.
Yeah. So anyway, this line, as of our recording this on Wednesday night, is Eagles are giving 6 points, which is it's a lot of points. What do you think?
I have it at 6.5. I really did.
Wow.
Yeah.
What did Gary have it at?
I think my look ahead messed me up, because I thought that if this happened, it would be over 7. So, first of all, dude. Go Birds. First of all, this dude wasn't even at the game. He was in Ohio, so let's not talk to this guy. Yeah, first of all, go Birds. I was at the game. You know what I mean? Got kicked out right in the second quarter, came back, got kicked out again. Mythical bear knowledge, got in the third time, and I saw history. Yeah, but here's the main thing that's going to happen. I don't really know. I'm scared. What's going on? What's going on? What's going on with Jalen Hurts? Psych, go Birds, 300 yards. Have you seen the over-under on Saquon's rushing total? It's 154,000. Go Birds.
Know me? Know me?
Yeah, you know what I mean? But really, it's 129.5 on DraftKings. So.
Wasn't Philly losing in the first game in the fourth quarter too?
It was close, yeah. I have to check.
10-6 or something stupid. It was a Thursday night game, I think.
It was another game. It was before they really had their real vibe together. Yeah.
I gotta say that there's enough smoke when it comes to the Eagles of like, wow, a lot of things don't seem to work great with the Eagles, but they've got a lot of good players and they eventually usually figure it out. But which is exactly kind of what we were saying about the Lions and just kind of whistling past that graveyard. I think I'm on the Commanders. I'll take the 6. I don't suspect that the rookie goes to the Super Bowl because it doesn't usually happen.
Sure.
But I think there's a whole lot of points in this game. I don't know. What does the chat think? Does the chat think that Gare Bear is prophetic and not pathetic? I see.
I can anticipate stress. I can see it not being a cruise for sure. Yeah. I think see really go crazy though. So yeah.
I see Victor saying +6 Commanders to the bank. Ooh.
Yeah, is that what they call a stadium in New Orleans? Because that's where they're going. Yeah, bang.
Yeah, I mean, it is. Dry Erase Girls here and said, yay, she made it in time for Gare Bear, which is obviously clearly what we need. Ian says, amazing. Ian says, Eagles will win, but Washington will cover.
Yeah, I'm financially and emotionally hedging. So, yeah.
Are you?
No, this is gonna happen. No, I it's just a better football team. And I know like it counts, but I think there's an end to, or there's a cost to the roster margins. Like, it's not even just the running thing. It's, I don't know what they're gonna do with this Jalen Carter, Nolan Smith thing. Like
and they lost a guard. They lost the only veteran guard.
He tore his ACL, and it's terrible. And he's really good. And so what they did, they brought in this veteran. I forget his name, Tyler. They brought in Tyler Smith or whatever. He's like a 6-year guard, but now they're talking about also like kicking a tackle inside. It just sounds like they need to figure stuff out, and continuity is the name I think that's going to cost them. So yeah,
I guess we'll see. I mean, I'm relying on Daniels' mobility to get out of that stuff, but I might be wrong. I absolutely might be wrong. All right, so before we get to the that's the appetizer. Before we get to the main course, let me thank DraftKings for sponsoring us again, making this show possible all year. It's through their support of us and their wanting to reach all of you that has made any of this possible. So if you've enjoyed the show and you've never downloaded the DraftKings app, you'd be doing us a favor and also getting a great sportsbook app if you download the DraftKings app. If you sign up using the code HarrisTube, all one word, HarrisTube, and then make one $5 bet, just one $5 bet. As soon as you make it, you'll get $200 in bonus bets put into your account immediately to play around with. We always want to remind you, please, moderation. I'm betting $10 a pop, $15. Like, it's not much. It's enough to like get the blood flowing and think you're smart, but not enough to have it hurt. We really do hope you would think that way. But yeah, use that code HarrisTube when you download the DraftKings app. It does help us out. I want to praise Tomas Mendez for his correct pick in, I don't know whether it was the chat or in the comments, of the Commanders last week, along with myself. Apparently, I was so convincing to Tomas that big shout out to TM for getting the Commanders correctly. And we'll ask you at the end of the show your favorite bets of the week. Let's move on and let's talk controversy, shall we? Let's talk about the Chiefs, who have – it's so glorious to me, Jim, to have the Chiefs become the Patriots, to have Chiefs fans suddenly looking around going, what? Well, yeah, no, it's true with New England. It's not true with us. What are you talking about? The nation hates the Chiefs. We have reached the tipping point. Yeah. There is no question at all. The nation now is very, very tired of this team and wants very desperately to see them lose. And the Texans game, where the Chiefs felt like were mostly outplayed, but found a way, and Patrick Mahomes found a way to both be the most reprehensible person on the field and amazing at the same time. I think it's stupid. It was stupid when people said the league wants New England to win, and it's stupid when the people say the league wants Kansas City to win. What it wants to do is protect superstar quarterbacks,
yes.
And they happen to have the best one.
Yeah. That's pretty much what it is. Yeah, that's all it is. I think there is an interesting baton pass because I have a buddy who he's not insufferable, but he's a Kansas City fan, and like a real one, like a big Royals fan going back in the day. In any case, he his whole thing is that he used to complain about the Chris Jones penalty with Tom Brady. You know what I mean? And now
not Chris Jones. It was D Ford.
Oh, D Ford. I'm sorry, D Ford. Yeah, D Ford.
D Ford.
And it wasn't that egregious. It was a normal NFL, like, don't hit me here play. And then full circle to this play. Go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, maybe I had the wrong play. D Ford was offsides in the AFC Championship game. Yeah.
Somebody admit, yeah, so he was always complaining about a play, and I'm getting it wrong, but yes. And this idea that there's infraction, and it was that same mentality, though, that like this was just, there was never a chance. It was written in stone. Goodell's in some lair, like, some like evil Buffalo Wild Wings, like pressing buttons. And the counterpoint is that, like, if you look at that play again, the one play we're really talking about, because the play he complained about didn't get a flag. Like, it's what we're talking about. But the play when he slides, guys, I don't think you understand. If he's like a couple inches above, like, he's not in this game, and he's knocked out. Like that was really I know, but it was too close. That's why they call it, though. They call it because don't be close.
It is why they call. I mean, the one that we're talking about is the personal foul when he slid and the two Houston defenders clanged helmets above him, it's. What's annoying about it is that he slows down and he turns his back and he falls real slow because he knows what's going to happen. People can't stop their momentum. And he is doing himself no favors in the court of public opinion. He's trying to game the system as much as he possibly can. Yes. And listen, Tom Brady gamed the system a lot. I would argue not as much as Mahomes, but I also don't have that much a problem with gaming the system. I don't mean that necessarily pejoratively. Yeah. The flopping out of bounds, the same thing. He's trying to find a loophole. And I think the league would probably be well served to close those loopholes and say, like, these plays are now all reviewable, all aspects are reviewable. And if we deem that you are flopping, it's a 15-yard penalty. Like, I think that should probably happen. Sure. I had a hard time when it was the Patriots, when I was on the inside of it, and now I have a hard time that I'm on the outside of it, not as a Kansas City person, thinking that there's anything organized about anything, because Roger Goodell's an absolute idiot. Yeah. Because the referees are not good at their jobs, because nobody in the world is organized to pull this off.
Yeah, it'd be so difficult. Yeah.
It's not intentional. And if it was, why in the world would you make Kansas City, no, all due respect to flyover country, but wouldn't you pick a bigger city? Wouldn't you pick, it's just stupid. They're just really great at football.
They can't put a field together for a Super Bowl. And that's not just one game. That's not just an Eagles complaint. Like, multiple times they've had slip and slides. So it's just this isn't some greater design. It's just no, this is. So it's also, I think, this thing where when this was the Patriots, it's fatigue. And when you're constantly in these moments, it feels like everything goes your way because they're constantly in these moments. So
they're really good.
And they make good decisions in high leverage situations. And more importantly, they convert them at rates that you don't. So I'm sorry. Yeah,
that's right. And to be honest, I wish Mahomes would play it a little straighter. I wish they would be easier for a neutral like me to love. When they were undefeated, I kind of wanted to see an undefeated team. I think that would have been awesome. I think 3 Super Bowls in a row is kick ass. It would be cool. It would be something we would always remember. Yeah. I would love to see. It just feels kind of beneath him to be flopping around like a soccer player. I just feel come on, man, you're one of the.
Awesome. It's not a great overlap. The pouty awesome thing. It's just.
Yeah. Anyway, they're good, and they deserved to come back and win that game. And Houston played well. I don't think Buffalo can muster the kind of pass rush that Houston did. And maybe that's how this game works out. I'll tell you a stat that caught my eye is Travis Kelce, because once again, we were right. And the moment he gets in the playoffs, it's oh, wait, my legs work. Look at this, after a season of absolute rope-a-doping. We said all season he was rope-a-doping, and he did. 14 straight playoff games for Travis Kelce with 5 catches and 70 yards. That's totally deranged.
That's absurd. And It's absurd. And like parlay, like just a touchdown parlay bet with him is just like, sure. Like, yeah, it is. I don't know if I don't have one in my head of really any sport where a player, like, he hasn't done this consistently, but the last 2 years, it's really been, maybe even 3 years. It's really 2 years where it's just like, all right, I am back to that version you saw before.
Right.
And he's not even just old manning it. This doesn't look like end of career stuff sometimes. Like, he's like, and it's hard to hate too. But I do, so it's cool.
All right, so but we'll get into the nuts and bolts of how we think this game is going to go here in a moment. But we should do 5 minutes of fantasy with the chat, shouldn't we?
Do it.
That'd be fun. So as we vamp here to catch up, because you're a little bit behind us, put your questions of fantasy or football or whatever in the chat, and I'll run them by Jim. And that's the benefit of being here with us live. We got a whole bunch of people with us live, and we're happy to have you. Feel bad for Mark Andrews. Feel bad for Lamar.
Yeah.
It felt like they outplayed him. And certainly, I think all 4 winning teams were outgained in terms of total yardage, which is crazy. But, you turn the ball over in the playoffs, you're going to lose.
That's also, yeah. That happens. I also, I've heard several stats. I mean, not to like completely vamp, but like Vrabel made this awesome, like running, like when you run, like when you have the X amount of more rushes than your opponent, like your record. And I just love that kind of stat. I love those still. I want more of that. And I also love that last week you were like, and they're going to hire Josh McDaniels. And they did.
In fact, the first question in the chat is Matthew, who says, what do you think of Josh McDaniels back as your offensive coordinator, meaning obviously me? I think it's okay. I don't know which tight pants, 27-year-old who's never called a play in the NFL in his life is the right guy to pick. They're not all perfect. Like Zach Taylor looked pretty good for a while, but I don't particularly think I would want that guy. He was that sort of unknown non-play calling guy. It's fine. I think McDaniels is smart enough to be able to adapt to a more modern game, and he's not going to make Drake May head off into the Tom Brady land where everything's an option route and all that stuff. It's fine. I have to believe, though, that had Mike Vrabel gotten a job at any other city, Josh McDaniels would not be his offensive coordinator.
Oh, interesting. That's interesting. Yeah.
I don't think, because I don't think they have a super big overlap. And I think there's like a loyalty thing. There's a convenience thing. There's a we know it works thing. And I'll say, like, any tight pantsed Minnesota third of offensive assistant who you take, if he's good, he's gone in 2 years. And at least with McDaniels, he's never going to go anywhere.
I think there's the certainty, and I just wonder, like, the preciousness of time and development with May. Like, if they just think there's a certain floor that they have, with the a certainty level, I think is what you're saying. So a comfort level. If they think it's not dangerous, because I think they want to get May. Obviously, that's the whole point, right? Is to position him, and it maybe not one of these young khaki guys might derail that too, just as much as he might elevate and leave.
Yeah, like higher ceiling, lower floor.
Exactly. That's what I'm kind of saying. Yeah.
I'll probably talk a little more with Matt Harmon on the fantasy podcast about the Patriots situation tomorrow. Dan says Josh Jacobs, his outlook for 2025.
I mean, good. He finished literally on like a complete like dragging Eagles, and like that's not a team that you see happen a lot. And if there's more identity, I think, around him in the offense, it could actually help. Meaning just that like he sometimes was like the only thing working or consistent. So I think that looks promising. They're really young, so yeah, he's good. Their offensive line should only get more continuity too. They were young too.
A different Dan says, I have both Jordan Mason and Isaac Guerrero for a dynasty team. Could the Niners just let McCaffrey go and go with that pair next year?
I think I don't think the money works that way. They just redid it.
No.
So yeah, no.
Yeah, no chance. Ace says, pure football. Is Brock Purdy a top 10 quarterback? Not talking fantasy, just in terms of football. Can you count 10 quarterbacks you like better for a team than Brock Purdy?
Yeah, I think it could. Yeah. But it'd be right around there. It wouldn't be too many more. Yeah.
Yeah, because, boy, the bottom 10 is so bleak.
Yeah.
Like you want to say, well, no, he's 15. And then you go, oh, my God. You see who 20 is. And you go, no.
He's closer to 10 than you might guess. But I don't think, like, 10 is a number I could get to, I think, without him. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
quarterback
Purdy Purdy or Goff?
Purdy.
So I think he's 10. Sorry. Like, you're just not going to find, we're not going to do the exercise right now, but I don't think you're going to find too many. I mean, Purdy or Justin Herbert?
It's about what's the legality of Flacco? Herbert.
I agree probably with that one. How about Purdy or Dak?
Dak.
Purdy or Hurts?
Purdy.
So, I mean, I really do think you're like in the realm of 10.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, it's right there. So, yeah. It's really
Victor says, Christian McCaffrey is done, right? This is the Todd Gurley bow out?
No, I don't think so. No, I don't think so, because I don't know. I do like Todd Gurley wearing Eagles jerseys. That was weird and petty. So,
EVing Made Easy says, anyone think that Ashton Genty goes top 10 in the NFL draft? We're not the experts, obviously. I don't know the answer to that question, but I did know how to say his name.
Yeah, I haven't seen him in there. Like, I haven't done too many. It's mock season is starting. I haven't seen him there. I know it's a pretty flat board, or the idea that it's wide open. I don't think so, but I think fantasy-wise, it could still be really fun because it sounds like a first-round grade. Like, so we'll see. Yeah,
the problem is just going to be he'll go somewhere as the guy, and he'll be pick 8 in fantasy, and then we'll be like,
we'll get Bijan'd a little bit.
Yeah, don't do that. Nico says, will Chris Olave ever escape purgatory?
I mean, if you unleash Rattler, anything can happen if you got a guy named Spencer. No, I mean, it's so unknown there. It doesn't feel great there. Of all the receiving situations, like, Wilson's in a better situation, and I don't even know who his guy is. It just feels more promising there somehow. I don't know. Doesn't feel good, but he's good.
He's a good player. It's going to be Derek Carr again, and I thought they were onto something from September, and then everybody got hurt. Purgatory, yeah. Some other level of hell that's not quite as spicy, maybe not. Like, what I like about Olave is that he's going to be free. I think he's going to be like a 9th round pick.
Yeah, middle round for sure. Like, yeah, you're going to get him in a place where you've already made important decisions.
Devin says, does Baker Mayfield repeat?
I mean, Liam Cohen getting Trent Baalke fired was awesome, but I don't think he repeats at like this level, but it was pretty awesome. I'm starting to buy that, like, he's more the 30+ touchdown guy than he is like scary Baker. I just don't know how I feel. If you talked about quarterbacks, he's still in that range where I'm just going to wait. I'm never going to draft him for fantasy. He's just going to come to me in fantasy if he ever does. So, yeah. If I took
the fantasy out of it again, and I said just for an NFL team, Mayfield or Purdy.
Ooh, Mayfield.
Well, I think I would say Purdy pretty strongly there.
Yeah, no, weird, but no, I think Mayfield. Yeah.
All right. Well, you've always been a giant believer in Baker Mayfield, obviously. Long history of believing in Baker Mayfield.
Since the State Farm era.
All right, so let's talk about how we think this Bills Chiefs thing is going to go. The Bills were interesting against the Ravens because we think of them as a primary zone team. They played a lot of man. Mm-hmm. They, with no Zay Flowers, they didn't really respect that receiving core, and I don't imagine that they really respect this receiving core either. The rotting husk of DeAndre Hopkins and Xavier Worthy in his half-yard long passes and Hollywood Brown, and if I think a dream scenario for the Bills defense would be for Mahomes to throw the outside receivers the whole game, which I don't think there's any chance they do. So I won't be shocked to see more man out of Buffalo.
Yeah, I mean, people are worried right now because it's early in the week. Like, Chris Benford sounds like he's going to be fine. Like the top corner for the Bills, like, he'll be fine.
But Taylor Rapp might not be though.
Taylor Rapp is the one I think people are really concerned about, just because he didn't practice today and stuff like that, and this was the day that they wanted to see him. To me, not that if I could pick, it's Milano and Benford, but yeah, they're going to be able to play more honest than maybe some team. It's going to be a really interesting matchup because the idea is that the Bills are not suddenly, they've been this all year, kind of this more power football team, but the Chiefs are going to want to do that right back to them because this is a smaller Bills defense. And you thought you would see that, like you said, with You thought you'd see a repeat. In some ways, I picked the Ravens, so I was wrong. Like that they would just. I thought they would roll over them physically, and they didn't. So maybe like my premise is a lot of the, I don't know, the gut feel is that they're going to get bullied a little bit in the run game, and like even if it's not Hunt, he's not that good. It's just that they're going to get leaned on. I'm interested to see how that works. I think they might. I think the Bills they're going to have to show that they can handle that. They're really going to get punched in the face early, I think, is what Kansas City wants to do.
I think it's, my pick isn't going to reflect this because who I'm picking. But if I'm saying that the Eagles have sirens going off, the Chiefs have, a fleet full of ambulances. There's, that thing has been sounding, and it didn't, and the Houston game did not settle anything clearly.
No.
Like if the kicker for Houston could make a kick, and if there were just a couple less stupid mistakes and personal fouls and stuff, I think Houston probably wins that game. But of course, that's the whole magic to the Chiefs, is that they wait you out and you beat yourself. So I'm not taking anything away, but I just am saying that win did not settle my nerves about the Chiefs. And I mean, now Joe Tooney's a tackle. Cool. What does that mean for blocking up the middle for running? There's a lot of stuff that I'm not sure I think the Chiefs do particularly great. I don't know that I think their defense was all that good. Mixon stomped them in that game.
He did. Yeah, that surprised me. I actually, there wasn't the presence of also like the blitzing, like the Spags blitzing. It showed up sometimes, but it also seemed like that Houston was completely ready for it, like ready for some of the pickups. And it'll be interesting. You talked about not blitzing Jaden Daniels or the dangers of that. I know, but this other guy, Yeah. So it'll be interesting. Like, I have a feel for this game, and I'm interested to see how what your take is at the end. But I think it's Buffalo's going to have to basically continue to show that they can sustain this new identity,
which is a lot of James Cook, which is a lot of spreading the ball around, which is Ty Johnson on third downs, which is this big cast of characters, and then the path, really, let's face it, is Josh Allen
set him up. Yeah.
Just deciding 10 times in this game, I'm not going to be denied, and I'm going to run over somebody and make a massive play. And, I thought, except for his turnovers, Lamar kind of did that last week. And Allen kind of didn't. Allen didn't have a great game.
No. And in some ways he didn't have, the small things.
They kept making mistakes. That's right.
Yes.
You're right. I mean, they kept making mistakes. All I'll say about Buffalo's chances is you better be up by more than a touchdown in the fourth quarter. That's all I'll say.
Or that song's going to play, like that Reaper song. Yeah, you don't want that. No.
Which is why this line is at Kansas City minus 1.5 as of our recording this, which is why I would be all over the Chiefs, because I just think all the things – I think Buffalo's a better team.
Yeah.
Buffalo already beat them once, and I found it to be pretty convincing, and it's the only game the Chiefs really lost this year because the last game didn't really count.
Yeah.
And I still think that dude wearing that uniform, who I wish wouldn't flop, is the closest thing to Brady, or maybe equal to Brady. And there's just a way that if he's down 3, he's not down 3 long in the fourth quarter. So I'm on the Chiefs.
Yeah. If this was in Orchard Park, I would pretty clearly like the Bills. And I had a feeling, but it's just too much for me to overcome. And the line was small enough for it to work for me. I had it at 2.5. I just thought they were.
I had it at 3.
Going to be in a field goal. I thought that I might push. Not that I was surprised by this line. I think there's just a lot of sentiment too that people want this to happen. There's a lot of outcome wishing, like hope casting, whatever you call it, wish casting for this to end. Again, I of course betting, but not even the idea of betting my money, but also just the idea of staking what I think is going to happen. I'd be betting on something that hasn't happened, of course, which is what betting's about, guys. But meaning more profoundly than that I haven't seen this team step up to this level, and these other guys, not as ho-hum, but I just feel like they're ready for all the scenarios and like exit room stuff, meaning they just know exactly what decisions to make. And I hate to say it, it's also what scares me, for example, about the Eagles. In the same kind of situation, they're due to kind of melt down sometimes in those situations and open up the door to a Matt Stafford to throw a snowball into their brain, and ruin everything. Because that's how close that was. I don't think the Chiefs are going to put themselves exactly in that situation. This will be close, of course, but sadly, And
then Mahomes will make a play.
He's going to get what it wants.
Right. He'll get a defensive holding call, which probably is defensive holding, but you can't call it there.
No, not then. Let them play. Let them play.
And the Chiefs will figure out a way to do it, is my guess. So I asked you to also come up with a prop bet on DraftKings that you like, that you could tell the folks. Do you have one?
I do. It is over 129.5 rushing yards, Saquon Barkley.
Wow, that is such a high number. Wow.
But that's the first half. That's the first half.
129.5. Woo.
Whatever it is, yeah, do it. Yeah.
All right. Over on Saquon. I'm over on a player on the other team in that game. I'm over 30.5 passing yards for Zach Ertz. Receiving yards, not passing yards, but air yards to Zach Ertz. And my thought is the Eagles are a truth in advertising defense, and they are going to play a hard shell, and they've gotten roasted by McLaurin enough times to know that can't happen, and they'll be underneath stuff there for Zach Ertz. I don't think it's like a lock. It's a revenge game, but he's also a injury waiting to happen. But I'll take Zach Ertz over 30.5 receiving yards. I didn't really ask you to do this, but do you have like a best bet between the two conference championships? Do you feel stronger about one than the other? We won't count it as a best bet.
I feel more strongly about the Chiefs, to be honest.
I do too.
Like with in terms of just again, same thing. They've been there before. So
yeah. All right. Well, you all tell us in the chat right now, or you can tell us down in the comments your favorite bet of the weekend. We'll shout somebody out next week. We are going to do a show next week in the interregnum between the conference championships and the Super Bowl. I roll. That was a good word. Interregnum. We'll figure out stuff to talk about as we preview the Super Bowl and talk about the kind of doings of what happens coming out of this game. It's a blast to do this with all of you who are here live. Thank you so much for watching us. We really do appreciate you showing up every week. It's awesome. Thank you to everybody watching the YouTube video after the fact. And thank you to DraftKings so much for continuing to sponsor us. If you'd like to say thanks for the show, you could sign up using the code HarrisTube. That does help us out a little bit. Thank you to Jim McCormick for being amazing. Thank you to Gare Bear for obviously being the biggest homer plushed animal that I've ever met. And Dave Pyper, an incredible producer. Thank you to all of you once again, and we're going to talk to you next week. Bye.